Okay, you can go ahead now.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are very excited to have you join us on this exercise. As part of the occasion of the 31st of the 61st SRC Week celebration and the 10th anniversary of the inception of the Kumasi campus, we are bringing you this seminar for us to interact with the director, the acting director of the Ghana School of Law. This is an opportunity we are not going to take for granted. And so we'll be joined by the director very soon, and then we would have a question and answer session where we would put to him some of our grievances, some of our questions on how the school's administration works and how the educational system works as a whole. So my name is Angela Abineje, and I'll be your host. Questions will be sent to me. You can send to the secretary Afram, or you can send the questions to me individually, and I'll be sure to put your questions to the director. I am very certain we are joined by the director, Mr. Maxwell Opokwajiman.
Yeah, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I hope you are doing well.
I am fine, thank you.
Yes, we also heard about the success of the launch yesterday, and we are very happy about how seamless it went. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you to the SRC for participating and making it memorable. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We are very grateful. We are very grateful to all our panelists who found the time to be with us yesterday as well. There are so many questions pouring in, but there's one question I would love to ask you very first. So you've been in this school for so long, and I am very certain that you've had so many memorable experiences as a lecturer and as a student first, as a lecturer, and now as the acting director. What has been your most memorable experience so far?
Well, it will be difficult to recount, but as you rightly pointed out, yes, I joined the school at 1998 at the age of about 33. So I was a young, tiny young man, and I was teaching 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds. In fact, I was teaching someone with a daughter as well. And anytime we go out, they look huge and big, affluent. So when people are introducing us, they will introduce them as lawyers as well. And most of the times, they accept the introduction without question. My memorable one was that one at the funeral when they were introduced as lawyers and they did not protest, I asked them to go back to the announcer to correct the announcement, to let everybody know that the entire group that came all of them were law students except one who is a lawyer, and that was me. Yes, because I wanted to correct the impression so that they don't go out in town professing to be lawyers when they were not.
They were not.
Since then, they are very careful working with me. If you work with me and you are not a lawyer, and you let them introduce you as a lawyer, you know I will not accept it.
That must have been an uncomfortable situation for the students who were at the funeral. Anyway, so we've also been asked to ask you that right now that you are the acting director, is the lens through which you view the school different from when you were a lecturer? Has anything changed for you in that regard?
Not at all. As a permanent lecturer, even though I was teaching, I always contributed my quota to the management of the school. And I was involved in almost everything that been going on. The only difference is that in those days, I contributed. But in these days, people contribute to me for me to also implement. That's the only thing. Otherwise, it's the same thing, the same person, the same thinking. Because in my view, whether you are a lecturer or you are administrator, once you are there, it's in the interest of the school. That's why you are there. So the only thing is the title, but otherwise, to me, nothing has changed. I'm the same person, and the way I contributed from 1998 is the same that I've been doing now. So nothing changed for me.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I must say that it is commendable the massive changes that we are seeing under your leadership as acting director. It's been amazing seeing the renovation works going on, especially on main campus. Now, I've been asked to find out what your vision for the school in the next 5 years is. Where do you see the school in the next 5 years?
Well, for the time being, my vision may be personal, but I believe that when you are in an institution, you have to have institutional strategic plan, which we are going to tackle, so that we will have a short, medium, and long-term plan. At the moment, what they are doing is just to fix the problems and challenges that we find them. But I believe we need to develop a strategic plan for the school. There are so many things going on as to whether or not the law school should stay as it is, or the law school should recognize professional institutions to run. People talk around, but it seems this country, that's what we do. We talk without planning. So my view is that the law school will have to, we have to look at so many things, but in doing so, certainly we need a strategic plan. Sitting here, the immediate concern is how we try and make life comfortable for students, how to increase access by matching it also with the infrastructure and making sure that those almost all the students who are yearning to come to the law school or have the professional studies will be able to, so with minimum hassle. But that being said, it does not mean it's going to be a wholesale thing, but rather you should try as much as possible to make sure that those who are yearning get the opportunity. Because in my view, the issue is not whether or not faculties run professional law education. I don't think most students are interested in that debate. All they are interested in is, am I going to get the opportunity to study professional law? Whether you do it at Makola, whether you do it at GIMPA, UPSC, I don't think that is their headache. Their headache is whilst we are debating, those students, they are not interested in our debate. So my immediate is to ensure that at least we try as much as possible to make room for them, That's why, as management, we are very serious that maybe by the end of this month or early next month, we will try and officially cut the sort for the construction of that 1,500 capacity building at the New Village, which will have more room for, even if nothing, to decongest what we have. So at the moment, that is my major concern at the moment. But going forward, I believe that the school will have to prepare a short to medium to long term strategic plan so as to prepare for the next 15 to 20 years, not just but next 20 years, how we want to see the Ghana School of Law.
Okay, all right. That's really commendable. So we've also been told that I think this question is from a part one student, and he's asking that there are rumors going around about the use of the mock scores, the scores from the mock exam, to contribute to their final exam score. This I would like your comment on so that we'll dispel the rumors that are flying around in the school. Should we disregard these rumors that the mock score will contribute to our final exam score?
You say the person is a part one student.
Yes, please.
Which meant that he has read Ali Kasina. I believe he has read it, Ali Kasina's case, and which says that multitude of rumors do not make a fact, and therefore it remains a rumor. Let me say, mock is extremely important. Even if for now, even if it's not counted, I don't know, when you say counted, it means that maybe it's a percentage of the final examination mark.
Yes.
No, at the moment, we have not reached that stage. At the moment, what we have reached is this, that we should use it to assess competence of our students and to test their readiness. But going forward, it's a proposal which is before council, which in principle they have agreed, but we have to come out with the modalities for us to include it. But for now, what we are going to use it for is to assess their readiness. Let me tell you, the concern of examiners have been that most of you, your handwriting is very horrible. No one can read. So one way of identifying and correcting that problem is to go through mock, where you are not going to have typed answers, but you are going to have a handwritten one. We will identify some of these, and the lecturers will try and correct them with some of you, because it's very disheartening when a person, you may have all the ideas, but you cannot read. And it's not because of a student that a lecturer is going to lose his eyesight. You see, if your handwriting is bad, sometimes they gloss over. So that is what it is. And also, if you look at even the exercises that the lecturers conduct, and you compare, even recently with their supplementary exam, you realize that there was a correlation between that mock they did and the supplementary. So it's very, very important. Even if we are not going to give a, say, percentage, it's very, very important. I know that as for students, sometimes your main interest is the form, that's the mark, not the substance. But I can assure you, if you take the substance seriously, it will help you. So that's what it is.
That notwithstanding, that seems to me that we are right not to, from your explanation, we have to take the mock very seriously because it assesses our competence and it assesses what we've learned over the semester or over the years, over the year, the academic year, and how well we can solve the questions when we meet it in the exam. That's really important. I believe in my first year, that was really helpful for me as well. And so we thank you for that on that regard. There's also a question from a Part 2 student, and he is asking that there is some confusion. There seems to be some confusion as to the enactments that will be used, one for legal ethics, and then also for conveyancing and drafting. You see, the manual that the Part 2 students have are all set in the old legal regime. For the legal ethics, there is a new LI, the LI 2423. And then with the conveyancing and drafting, there is the new Land Act, Act 1036. So there seems to be a confusion as to which of the enactments will be used in setting the questions, or which of the enactments will be used to examine the student. And this we would want your take on it. So you give us answers as to, since we are doing our revision now.
Well, we have precedent at the Ghana School of Law when the New Companies Act was passed. You realize that when it was passed, that was what we did not use the new one, because the manual has been prepared with the old, and therefore it will be unconscionable now to insist that in midstream students will use the new act, which even some of you may not see it even at this time. So certainly, we are going to rely on the manual, and since we are relying on the manual, it means the law that have been passed in the manual is what will be used. But there's nothing wrong with a lecturer when it mentions even the old to also give you a current provision. Just because whether you like it or not, when you go out, you are going to use the current. When I was studying civil procedure, the same thing. We had the old civil procedure, and the person was teaching us has written a book based on a new civil procedure rule. What he did was that he would teach you the old, but then tell you that this is what you are to expect. So definitely we will use what is in the manual. That is the old law. But we have also asked the lecturers sometimes to make mention of the new rules that have come. But certainly, and if a student writing so industrious is able to use either both or even the new, that student will not be punished. But if you don't use the new, no one can punish you for not using the new, because you were taught with the old manual, and the questions must be from the old. But you can refer to the new. That will show how industrious that person is. So yeah, the precedent is there. We cannot use the new now, and by next year they will review the manual and start using the new.
Yes, sir. That's wonderful news to hear. And we also have this question that there seems to be no synthesis or link between the three campuses in what the expectations of the lecturers are, because some campuses will be using the old, some campuses will be using the new, some campuses would want questions answered this way, or and different ways of doing things because of the different lecturers that we have in all the campuses. So the question is, there seems to be no sync or synthesis between the teaching and learning across the three campuses. Is there any steps taken by management to synthesize the teaching and learning across the three campuses?
Well, as to whether or not someone is using this or that, the collaboration or collaborative teaching, or the reason why the manual was produced. So whatever it is based on the manual. But as for style, see, there's a difference between style and substance. We all have a different way of teaching. But for the substance, if you are saying that a lecturer is not relying on the manual, is going outside of the manual, then there's that one. Now it's the first time I'm hearing it. But if it's the way of style, see, And as for practitioners, sometimes even the cases they will cite, they will be the main cases. But as for additional cases, you don't expect lecturers to give the same cases all the time. So there will be difference in style, but you asked the first question as to the statutes. And I said, as for the statutes that will be used, we are going to use the old, but lecturers are free to make references to the new as well. You see, some may refer to it more, some may refer to it less, but whatever happens, we are going to rely on the old. So yes, different in style. Some lecturers are jovial, some are not. And therefore, as for that one, but when you talk of collaboration, we collaborate. In fact, we are even meeting, we are going to have an academic board meeting on Friday to Sunday. And that is what we always do. We meet, we share ideas where we have reached. If some campuses are behind, we share ideas. So this is something we do every quarter to ensure that we are all at the same page. But as for style, we can't change the style of other lecturers. But if you have any difficulty because someone is not using the manual, then of course that one, if you bring it to our attention, we will make that lecturer aware.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So this is from a part one student, and he's asking about the timetable for exam. He says that from what he has heard so far,
Has he seen it? Has he seen it?
No,
He
sir.
hasn't seen it. He hasn't seen
It's
it.
not out yet.
And is he a prophet or prophetess?
No, sir.
Can you
No,
see
sir.
can you see in the spirit?
No, sir.
So he has seen the timetable in the
best
spirit.
of my knowledge, no. To the best of my knowledge, no.
Okay.
So
he's
from
speculating.
the
He's
question,
speculating.
yes.
The person is speculating. Law student, professional law student, speculating. Okay, you go ahead.
Yes. So from what he's heard, most of the exam that is conducted in school is run over the span of 2 weeks, and he believes, and I subscribe to this idea, that it is really short for the exam period. And when you when you look at the academic timetable, it looks as if it's in 3 weeks. However, when the timetables come out, it is mainly 2 weeks, and the students would have 2 weeks to write the exam. So he is suggesting if management could liaise with the IEC to extend the 2-week period to a 3-week period to enable the student have ample time in preparing for the exam. What is your take?
Usually, everybody knows me. I do not answer to speculations and conjectures and rumors. Everybody knows that's my style. People must react to things that they know about. As a future lawyer, you have to be very careful as to inadmissible hearsays, which you can't justify. But when you say mainly, I have been involved as an acting director, at least in an examination, last academic year examination. And the duration was 3 weeks. So I do not know where the person is getting it from. If you look at the supplementary, the duration is 3 weeks. So where is that person getting that information? That's why I asked you whether the person has gone into the spirit and has seen other things. Otherwise, what has happened maybe some years back, you look at what is happening now, and then you determine whether, because we have the last examination was 3 weeks. So I don't know where it's getting the 2 weeks, but I know that's for students. And the next time you are asking for 3 weeks, I won't be surprised. Next time you get the opportunity, you should go to 2 months. But you look at it. You look at it. Yeah, you request for 2 months. Nothing is enough. But I can assure you that whatever it takes, that it's not only the learning learning. Examination, I know that stress management in examination is very important, and
Very important.
timetable and time for preparation is very, very important. We have done all the assessments. Sometimes people fail not because they don't know, but sometimes because of compression of time, and they suffer a lot. So we know all these things. So uh, nobody should worry. We in management, uh, we maybe sometimes you don't think that we think about you, but we think about you also because we have been there before. So let that person sometimes let that person sleep and stop dreaming because it may well happen that last year was 3 weeks. So I don't know where he's getting the 2 weeks from.
Okay. Thank you, sir. There is also a question from a part 2 student, and he asked that last year the results were released very close to the date that was stipulated for the call, and that was difficult because it wouldn't allow for reviews and with marking and things of the sort. So how is it going to change in this year's, or is there going to be any change in this year's release of results for the part 2s or the call list that will be released for the 1st October call, God willing?
So you are referring to those uh, who were called last year,
Yes.
and whether or not, well, there are so many difficulties. First and foremost, results are not released by the Ghana School of Law Management. It's outside our jurisdiction. This is how it does. After you writing your exam, after marking, they submit them to the IEC. IEC use the administrative and management systems to collate everything. Is as expected to submit it to the Board of Legal Education and finally to the General Legal Council. To be honest with you, the management of the law school at this stage just a receiving box. We receive this, and what we do is to put it on the notice for you. But that being said, it doesn't mean that we should also sit down unconcerned, because if you have challenges, you don't know the IEC, you come to us. Last year was even an improvement. It used to be where the call will be on a Friday and the results was released on a Monday. And people had to go, those who have no money even to buy wig and gown. And last year, it's a little bit improvement, but I can assure you that last year, because of the COVID situation, a lot of things changed, even time of marking. But this time, we have come back to June examination period. The June examination period, the advantage is that when you finish in June, marking is in July, August. That is the legal vacation period. And most of the examiners who are lawyers is in their vacation, so they have ample time for us. But when last year the exam was in October and you want people to mark in November when the legal year has resumed, I can assure you, you chase people for papers. It was difficult, but I hope that this time it will be far better. In fact, we are envisaging that we'll collaborate with the IEC so that whatever it is, at least those who will be called will have at least 1 month notice. That is the release of the result for them to prepare. So we are doing our best. But in the long run, what I'm saying is subject to conduct of the IEC. But we will do our best to push them and to ensure that at least we give ample notice for those who have to prepare for the call to do so.
Okay, thank you. If you are watching us, we are having an interactive session with the Acting Director of the Ghana School of Law, Mr. Maxwell Opoku Ajimang. If you have any questions, you can put it on your various class pages, and your class rep will forward them to Afram, the Secretary of the SRC, for onward submission, and then would ask all these pertinent questions that you are putting across. You can also send them to me directly if you have my number, and then I would ask the director the question. So, Mr. Pokajuman, there is another question on students who are awarded scholarships by the scholarship secretariat, and they would want to find out if they would be allowed to write the exam if the fees have not been paid by the secretariat at the time that they are to be paid.
Of course, they will be allowed because Get Fund or Scholarship Secretariat cannot go bust. We can chase them for our money.
Okay.
So they will be allowed, yes. I think letter to that effect will be written to allow them to register.
Okay. Thank you very much. There is also a question on the parking levy. The parking levy, and this is from one of the Part 2 students. He is asking that what is the school doing about the parking levy, since the number of students in the main campus, for instance, the number of students have bludgeoned is a whole lot. So it's very difficult for the people who have cars to park, and if on top of that we are asked to pay a parking levy, that seems to them not very appropriate. So what is your take on that? What's your take on the parking levy?
Yes, I'll come to it. On the scholarship and fees, I think that person who asked the question should know that the Get Fund does not cover all the fees. So the remainder, which is borne by the individual student, must be paid before that person will be allowed. So for example, if it is 10,000 and Get Fund paid 7,000, then you have to top up with your 3,000 before you'll be allowed to register. Because as for Get Fund, we can chase them. But as for the student, we don't know where to find you when you finish. You don't even want to pass the law school for us to even get our money from you. So that is so those people should try and top it up. They should know the difference and top it up. But as for the scholarship secretariat, we will allow them to register if they top it up. You see, when now parking levy,
Yes, sir.
The school is not obliged to even allow you to park. These days, we know that times have changed. When we were students at the Ghana School of Law, apart from lecturers, about 6 of them who parked their cars, it was just about 4 or 5 students. They were commanders of the police who used to have cars. But it's okay. It's good that you have all these vehicles. As you can see, there are 2 things involved. The parking levy, I don't know whether you think is too much, which I think sometimes it's not. In my view, it's not that exorbitant. I was thinking we're going to find out as your cars are increasing, whether you even increase the levy for us to build a car park, a modernized car park, where you park your cars in comfort rather than the way we do things these days. I thought that, and that will require money. So I thought some of you were going to say, looking at the type of cars you ride to the school, you will help us to build a very comfortable 4-tier parking lot with in and out, a computerized system, so that you can enjoy as professional law students coming to park at the Ghana School of Law. But we will look at it. We will look at it. But we'll look at it and then see what we can do about it. But for now, you have to bear with us. But we will look at it.
Okay, thank you, sir. There is also a question from a prospective student, and I am amiss whether to ask these questions.
Prospective student.
Yes, prospective.
How did that person get a notice to appear on your? So it means
I
that
am
we are not secure.
I am surprised myself, but I would first ask the questions from the students who are already in the system, and then when we've exhausted that, we can, and if there's time, even enough time, then we can take those questions. Now, there's a question about last year's exam where some female students reported or gave complaints of harassment by an invigilator. So we are being asked if these complaints have been attended to and what the actions management have taken concerning those complaints.
As I told you, the management of the examination proper is under the jurisdiction of IEC. And therefore, even though we collaborate with them on invigilators, though were brought by the IEC, those complaints were received. In fact, I'm aware of it. We submitted a detailed complaint to the IEC to work on it. We identified the person who was involved through the deputy registrar. So yes, we have submitted report on it, and it is our hope that it will not happen again. But what I can also ask of you is that sometimes when these things happen, you don't wait until you have finished for you to bring that to our notice. Sometimes if we get the notice early, then we can even apprehend that person and deal with the person. See, you don't want a situation where you think that anytime you are going to have a problem, then you start after the exam, then you start complaining that I could not write it. Maybe when the results come and you are not successful, then you start, I couldn't write it because somebody was harassing me. Please, in the middle of it, I didn't know about it until after the fact. So if we get this thing, we will either apprehend the person, we will deal with the person, because as soon as we traced the phone number of that person, we got the name of the person and submitted it to the IEC. So I don't think it's going to happen again. We have taken serious view of it. We have taken very serious view of it. But you should also help us. As soon as you find some of these things, please let us know so that we can deal with it promptly.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad you've given us this answer because the question was a recurring question, and I'm glad it has been addressed. Now, we've also been asked to take your view on the deadline on the registration for exam. So from the part one students, they claim that on the admission letter, the last payment of the 1,500 cedis is in May 2021. So this implies to his mind that it could be paid on the 30th of May. But the communique that came from the management was that the deadline for registration is on the 14th of March. So could anything be done about the deadline, since from the communique, the deadline cannot be extended for the registration for exam? And they believe that the admission or the breakdown of the payment in the admission letter gave them a leeway to the 30th of March. So do you have anything to say about that?
There are two types of payments that the person is referring to. We have school fees payment, and then we have examination fee payment. The 1,500 is for examination. Now, the reason why they have received that letter is simply this. If we don't get our school fees, most of the students are eager to pay the examination fee without paying school fees, because they think that once they pay examination fee, they will write the exam, and then later they don't pay the fees. In fact, some of them, even by the time of call, they owe us. So we decided that this time you have to settle your fees as a condition for you to register for exam. That's why these days have come about, so that if you have to show proof of payment of school fees to IEC before IEC can register you for exam. Otherwise, some of them will go and pay. As soon as we ask about examination, they run and pay. But when it's school fees, they won't pay. See, so we are having this challenge. That's why we have this. But people will know that, of course, sometimes we give all these deadlines. This management have always shown their human face, but we are so that people will not be deprived of registration. But we will also not allow it, our patients and allow for students to be abused. So sometimes we give deadlines. Sometimes we extend them for purpose. Because sitting here, I don't think any of us very happy when you don't register to write exam or for all the work you have done. And I don't think money should be a barrier for you to write your exam. But people abuse it. And therefore, sometimes you have to be firm on some of these things. Yes, there are some who genuinely have problems, and we listen. But there are some who, even those who are being paid, sometimes they have collected the money and they've squandered it on expensive phones and others. You know it. And so this time, pay your fees prior to registering for exam. I think it's a fair idea. Don't you think so?
I think it is. I think it is as well.
Thank you very much.
So there's also a question on the fees that has been earmarked for the call, and a lot of questions actually. So the question on that is, what goes into the amount that has been earmarked for the fees? Because the upward adjustment of 3,000 Ghana cedis from last year's fee to 5,000 Ghana cedis for this year's call fee seems to be a bit on the high side. So they are asking what actually goes, if you could tell us what actually goes into the fees that is earmarked for the call, that makes it, or that pegs it at that high amount of 5,000. When last year, just in December, there was the call fee for the past students was just 3,000.
I believe you know that the CD has not been static. And I believe a lot of things are happening. When I was being called to the bar, we did it in the main lecture room. We were cramped there and we did it. We used to do others on the green grass, which now the lawns. We moved. We have been going around. The law school have been going around. We've been to Legon Economic Department. We've been to surgeons. Now, people were saying that they want flamboyance and also something that befits the Ghana School of Law. So we decided to move to the Accra International Conference Center. If I should tell you how much they charge, it will amaze you. And then the dinner, even the dinner and the venue alone, if I should tell you how much it costs, when you put all these things together and all the logistics, we have been running this program mostly at a loss. And then even the core program as for orientation, we pay people for all these things. We pay all of them. And sometimes you find lawyers coming in. And you know, sometimes these lawyers, you pay them by an hour. And a lot of things. You know, as you are also aware, previously, there were no interviews for call to the bar straight. But we have added so many things for now for a person to become a lawyer. And all these things at a cost. And that's why the main call was reviewed. Some were also saying why the mini call was still 3,000. The mini core is done either at the Supreme Court building or the court complex, where we don't pay that much. And also, even the brochure that we use for mini core is entirely different from what we use for the main core. The two, one is a little bit on the high side, the other is lower. So that goes into it, and that's why it was reviewed by the enrollment committee. We submitted it to the General Legal Council, and the council approved it. In fact, it was to take effect last year, but the council was of the view that enough notice was not given to the students. Therefore, we should give ample notice before increasing, because of the costs involved. When we submitted the budget, they realized that, and we cannot call you at a loss. We are calling you to start practicing, and the law school should incur debts. Who is coming to pay for us? I'm even proposing that, if possible, you should add, like the accountants and the auditors do, they put some, I think, 1,000 Ghana or so, 2,000 Ghana, yes, put it on their enrollment as a form of development fee. They leave it as their contribution toward the development of the school. Maybe with this, you can even among yourselves think about it. And even if you don't bring the idea, it will be very beautiful, especially the parties who generate this idea and then say that, oh, we want to contribute a little bit, our quota, to the Ghana School of Law, which is going to make us lawyers. And then you can even propose. You can start with 1,005, and then we add it. It will be very nice, don't you think so? But if you think about it, your people should think about it. So the 5,000 to cater for a lot of things, the additions, the interview, the orientations. We pay all of them. And at this time, it seems to me that the activities culminating the core is becoming very expensive because of the other things which have been added now to your core. A lot of things have been added, which were not in existence in our time.
I believe we are still students, and if we pay development fees when we are yet to enter the bar, that would be so maybe when we are called and we started working and earning some decent cash, then we can come back to the school and bring our quota to help in the development of the school. But as we are yet to be called and you add on development fees, that would be a little bit on the high side. Well, I'm speaking my mind. I believe the others have a different view on this. We have another question about the parking, and it seems to for this person, it seems to him that there are some parking spaces left for the market women, the traders who come to park their cars in the school. This leaves very limited spaces for the students who are in the school. So what is management doing about the parking spaces that are left for the traders and the bankers in the law school enclave who come into the school to park in the school? It seems we have lost the director. We've lost the director for a bit. I'm sure they are working on it to get him back, to get him to join us. So we are still holding on to the questions that we've already asked. So hopefully the director will join us again very soon, and then we would continue the session. Yes. We are still having some challenges, so hopefully he joins us very soon, and then okay, I'm still awaiting your questions as we are waiting for the director to join us again for
Yes, I hope I'm back, right?
Yes, sir, you are. You are back. You are back.
Yes,
So
I was telling you, no, I was giving you an advice.
Yes, sir.
That we who gets a little and share is better than waiting for getting big, because sometimes by the time you get big, your plans are also more. So now that your plans are, so think about it. Don't think that when you start getting cash. No, that is not a good attitude. The attitude is that he who have little and willing to share, uh, God will bless that person bountifully. And when you are blessed bountifully, then you share bountifully. So now think about it. The little that you have, you can even donate your phone credit money. We will take it.
Yes, sir. All right. I was asking about the bankers and then the traders who are allowed to park at the law school. They're allowed to park at the law school, and that will leave limited spaces for the students who are actually in the law school to park. And this is it becomes very difficult for us. So what is management doing about that in particular to help
I said,
reduce the number of people who park there?
yes. You know, someone asked a previous question. The levies are too much. Now, maybe if we also decide to make some little money from somewhere too, we should stop. If we stop in getting some small money for the maintenance of the place, then it means you have to add the levy. When we make money, you see, so sometimes it's a balancing act. Until the renovation, we tried as much as possible to ensure that students get places to park, notwithstanding those from the banks who are allowed to park. And the challenges now has become immense because of what is going on. But I can assure you that once we clear all the debris from the site, looking at the number of students, and even because we don't allow all of them to come to campus at the same time, we know that that place can contain all our students. It was based on that we allocated that small space. But now we have also seen that some lawyers, when they are going to the Supreme Court, come and park there. Yes, so it's not those who are, we know the number of people we have authorized to park there who are not students. But the challenge now are the judicial service staff and the lawyers who are parking there. We hope that when we finish the entrance and others, because maybe we are even heading towards automated system where if you, like the University of Ghana, if you don't have the that parking, you can't enter. That's where we are heading towards, and that will reduce some of these things. So yes, we are aware, but for now, the challenges you see, you bear with me that last year it wasn't like that. Yes, but this time because if you have triple track, we don't expect 400 and something students to come the same time. It's only one city plus the part two and the postcode. So the number was not that huge, but others are parking there, taking advantage, and we will have to look at that.
Kind of discrimination, some kind of discrimination that the management, it comes up when the treatment of students from post-call is compared to the treatment of students or the main student, the students who are just in the mainstream of the school, because they believe that when you enter the post-call classrooms, it's fully air conditioned, the lighting systems are excellent, the chairs are comfortable. But this cannot be said of part two classroom. I can attest to that. Part two classrooms and even the part one classrooms for that matter. So the question is it because the post-call student pay pounds and we, the students in the mainstream classroom, pay cedis. That is why the treatment of these classes of students is different. So that's the question.
This is very, very amazing. You, when was the last time? When was the last time you went to the part one classroom? You, when was the last time?
I was there last week.
And when you were there last year and you compared to last week, did you see any change
But there's been
in the
a
classroom?
massive,
Part
there's
two.
been a
I'm talking
massive
about the
improvement.
huh? You saw the main
Yes.
where you were.
Yes.
Did you see
Yes.
any difference?
There's been a massive
Anything?
improvement. There has been changes.
Where the part two, your classroom is a classroom for the post-call. So who is discriminating who? That classroom is a classroom of the post-call. The reason why we swapped was that looking at your numbers and the number of the post-call and looking at COVID, that's why we push you to that classroom, which is normally reserved for post-call, and then brought the post-call to the part one classroom. So that is arrangement because of what is going on and the COVID. It's only this year that has happened because most of it part twos are seniors, and as seniors you are always treated to be in the part two classroom, the main hall. That is meant for part two to also show that you are the seniors. But because of COVID and the numbers, this time we decided to take you away because of the 120, you are few, as compared to 160 students in a COVID situation. So that's why we have made this arrangement. It's not a permanent arrangement that has been there in the school.
That is the person who asked the question. We have a lot of questions coming in, and I suggest that if you would want to be within time that we the director allotted for this session, you quickly send the questions to Afram or to even my personal line, and I'll do well to ask the director these questions. So there is a suggestion on the restructuring of the professional law course examination. They are asking that if it could be possible to structure it into a 50% mid-year exam and a 50% end-of-year exam, saying as we would have to wait for the entire year before we sit for the end-of-year exam for the course. And the suggestion is that this would ease the burden on the students in learning that. I will take your comments on that briefly and then we'll move.
You see, having been at the law school for 20 years, I know students very well. When we had the semester system and we were examining you semester, you went on demonstration. The time was short, and therefore you didn't like the semester system. So some of us fought with you. Now extend it to 1 year for you to have ample time to prepare. Now you want a semester examination, you will think about it. You will think about it and reintroduce the semester system. You think about it. But unfortunately, you are asking the question, you will not suffer it. Those who are sending the question, tell them we will think about it and we may reintroduce the semester system. If that's what they wish for, we will introduce it. You will introduce it.
There is also a question on the use of templates and precedents provided by the IEC in the examination rooms. So because students are required to actually memorize precedents,
precedents or status?
Statutes, drafting precedents, and
yes.
50-step proceedings in criminal criminal procedure and stuff of the sort. So the question is it possible for the management and IEC to come to some form of agreement where the students will be allowed, or IEC will provide some kind of precedents or statutes in the exam room during the examination?
No. So, for example, the person who is asking that question, conveyance and drafting, we should give you a copy of tenancy agreement in the exams room for you to copy. Is that what the person is asking us to do? Or mortgage, we should give you copies of mortgage. Or petition for divorce, we should bring a copy. So your duty as a professional law student when you get to the exam is to put the petition down there and just copy. That's what they are talking about. When you were at the faculty, you studied contract. Did they give you the Contract Act?
No, they didn't.
Did they give you the criminal code?
No, please.
Why is it when you are even climbing the ladder, where you are becoming a professional, that's why you are asking for some of these things? Even at the faculty, where you have just started your legal education journey, they did not give you this. Now you come to your law school, you are going to, let me tell you, if you don't know, no one is asking you to have a perfect draft, for example. But a lawyer worth his salt, when you sit in chambers and your senior just asks you about tenancy agreement, you will know the contours of it. You should know some of the major things in it. That is the essence of our training. And it has served everybody well. You see, I've told you before, I don't like open book exam. Because the reason why you Ghanaians, when you go outside, you excel, is that you try as much as possible not to rely on some of these things. Of course, you won't get everything 100%, but it is better not to be thinking about this. It seems to me that these days, I won't be surprised. The next question will be whether or not the examination question should come with an answer on the side of it. Yes, it's answer on the side of it, so that one will make it easier. No, from 50-50, you go to this one. So the next one, say, is it not possible for IEC and the management to consider providing a specimen answer? If that's what they want, please, they should ask. I'm here for them. They should ask it so that we give you the answers. Is that not the case? Yes. So when you get there, it makes life easier for you. Life easier. Or we should abolish examination. We should abolish examination. There should be no exam. You should know.
There's been talk that the lecturers should trust that they have taught us and we understand what we have been taught. So we should swear an
so there should be no exam.
So there should be no exam.
If you don't want examination,
there's another question on the SRC, and the registrar being a signatory to the account, the SRC account. Yes.
Yes.
And the question the person is asking is, that would that not seem to be that the management have a hand in the affairs of the SRC, seeing as it is
the SRC a private institution?
No, it is not. The
SRC funds.
The SRC is part. The SRC is indeed part of. It is out of the school that we get the SRC, because the students are from the school. I understand.
Yes.
From the question, it's what the person is seeking to ask is whether the registrar being made a signatory to the account of the SRC, is that not going to be some sort of conflict in the administration of the SRC or in the work of the SRC? Yes.
Not at all. It's rather have saved the law school and have saved SRC executives from going to jail or not being called to the bar at all. Because if you do not know, the funds of SRC are public funds. It's generated through the Ghana School of Law accounts. And now, that's why we have even decided that auditing of that account should be done by the auditors of the school, rather than your own auditors. Sometimes, if you don't know, we have history of where SRC executives are unable to account for monies, and In fact, their core have been withheld for so many years. Some have been taken to court. So it is in the interest of the SRC executives, because I know, looking at sometimes your expenditure, where your preference for expenditure has been pineapple juice, sobolo, kebab, that the SRC executives can take 100,000 Ghana cedis cash and put it in a bus and come to Kumasi and just squander and spend. You think any prudent manager will allow that to happen? The essence of the registrar is that she is the chief administrator of the school, and therefore that signature is to serve as a bulwark, so that when you want to spend your money, it's SRC money, but you must come with a proposal which does not show frivolous expenditure. That is the essence of it. The others, they will tell you, if you bring your program, the signature is just to ensure that there's a linkage between the law school accounts and the SRC. Otherwise, I can assure you, SRC people, some of them, once the money is given, then it is their money. We will not allow it. That will not be allowed. We will ensure that at least we try and pay attention to some of these things. That's the reason why the registrar has not used a signature as a veto whatsoever for any activity of the SRC. Not at all. The only time they have issues is where we realize that some of the expenditures are outrageous. That one, as a prudent manager, she will raise questions. I may not like it. Last year, there were a lot of issues about your auditing, leading to conflicts and all that. You see, it nearly caused a whole lot of problems between the outgoing and the incoming at the time. But for our involvement, it will have led to public into the public domain, and you know what will happen. Sometimes some of you, we do all these things to protect you, because we know some of you are potential politicians if we are not even politicians now. And if you don't do that, you saw what happened to KNUST SRC in the newspapers, that their whole expenditure came into the papers. People insulted them. The beginning of corruption we don't want that to happen at the law school. So we do these things also to protect those people. But we know that they may want to have the money, and that they think it's SRC money. Nobody is doubting that. But it's a public fund. Those who are asking for it, they should know that this money are contributions of students of the Ghana School of Law, not their personal money that they have accumulated. We will not allow people to squander it. So the registrar will continue to be a signatory. And in fact, the law school auditors are now going to audit your accounts. We won't allow any student audit committee to be auditing accounts. We will make sure that in fact, you account for every person. So those who are listening, let them be aware. Whatever money you have given them, they will account for every person that before they will be called to the bar. So that is the reason why we do these things, not because of any other thing.
Okay. If you are still with us, would finish the session very soon. So you should please quickly send in your questions. Mr. Pokajman, is it possible if we ask the question on the from the prospective GSL student?
Go ahead.
Yes.
No
because
problem.
I
Go
believe
ahead.
you are in the best position to give answers to this question. So
no, go ahead. No problem.
He's asking that he has heard, or there's been the news that immovable property law is not part of the courses to be examined on for the entrance exam this year, and he would want your affirmative or your answer on that to confirm if that would be taken out of the courses that they will be examined on. And then also he's asking whether what's the form of the exam will take, whether they've taken out the parts which are the objective parts of the questions, or it will just be a section B type question where the students will be asked to do the essay or the problem question type of questions in the entrance exam. So
yes, I'll come to it, but let me finish my loss. I'll come to that one. I just want your viewers and your listeners and the students, not the prospective ones, the actual ones, to know
yes,
that so far, the management of the Ghana School of Law has released 250,000 Ghana cedis. See, in the old days, 2 billion plus to the current administration for the law week. And I want you to know, for purpose of accountability, and that's why I said, all those who are, so we have not kept any money. We have not kept their money. 257,000 has been released to them. And what I am saying, in fact, they've just added, the accountant has added, the 257 was the first tranche, and they've added 134,000, making it 324,000 released for the SRC, whose mandate has about 2 months to, yes. And therefore, I am sounding this to them. They will account for each person. I believe they are all watching. They will account for each person. And the registrar and the auditor, they will account before they can hand over. And if there will be problems before handover, then before they are called to the bar. And anybody who is coming to any position in the SRC in the future, this is the system now. The system is that the registrar is going to continue to be a signatory, and that the auditors of the school are now going to audit. And any person who fails to audit and audit well, that person will not be called to the bar until they account for all the money that they've been given. I believe they have heard me right. Now, for the prospective students, but let me say, if we are here with our account, I did not come alone. I have the auditor here, I have the librarian, I have the IT, I have the deputy registrar, I have the registrar, and I have the finance. And Mr. Usu is also here for Kumasi matters. Therefore, some of the answers have been supplied by them, especially the last one, the accounts one. So I am current on the accounts because the accountant provided me with the last figure, 324,000 for this program. That and you all must be citizens and not spectators. So check. Now the prospective student, as you know, the examination is conducted by IEC, of course, controlled by GLC. The last exam, we looked at the monitoring evaluation report, which indicated that the number of core subjects that the students were asked to study on 10, too much, and therefore it should be reduced. Of course, the original report we now found it was to be reduced to 5, but last year it was reduced to 6. For now, all I can say is that certainly it's going to be reduced to 5, but for the detailed subjects, you spare me. We have to confer, and then very soon, but the advert will come out very, very soon to give you ample time to prepare. And when that comes, the 5 will be listed. So for now, the person should spare me, but can take it from me that it will be 5. But the detailed ones, it will come out.
I'm also sure the form the questions we take would also be part of the notice.
No, so far, no decision have been taken as to the change of the form. And as I told you, a law school from now onwards will not take any decision without notifying the public or the students. I think it will not be fair for us to change the mode of the examination midstream when people have prepared. But for those students, what I can also tell them is that they should, what we have noticed is that most of them take advantage of the multiple questions but fail the essay. Their English is very bad. They can't communicate and they can't put sentences together. Most of them can pass all the objectives ones sometimes, or maybe that is where the IEC may be looking at, maybe to have a weighted form of assessment where they weight the written part higher than that of the objectives, because some people who do well in the objectives and pass, when they come to the law school, we see them, see that they can put sentences together. They write a lot of evidence exam in objective form, objective A, B, C. The things we see, A, B, C. You answer interpretation A, B, C. And that's what we are seeing. So that may be, but for the form, it's going to be the same. If they want to change, you will be notified. But for purposes of waiting, so what I'm trying to advise them is that they should not pay attention to the written part as well, because it may well be that you may do well in the objectives, but if they wait against the written, you may not be successful. So that is the advice I can give them.
Okay, thank you, sir. There's a question on the remarking and the supplementary. So to this person, there were issues where students who failed some of the papers, or who failed some of the papers, put in requests or applications for remarking, as well as register for the supplementary exam. So the question here is, now the SRC put forth a communique that explained that this week we should expect the remarking result. So the question here is, what happens when the person either fails the supplementary and does well, or is able to pass or over the threshold in the remarking, or vice versa? What happens in that regard? Because in that instance, the person would have two results or two papers in the running. One, the remarking or the remarked paper, and then also the supplementary paper. So what happens, and what measures have management put in place to tackle that issue when it arises?
You said there's a communique from SRC, so they are more current than management. They know when the results are going to be out. So why are they asking me? You see, there's a communique. I don't know. So you have more information on the remarking, and you're asking me. Those who issued the communique, they should have the facts. Where did they get that information from? They got it from IEC. I don't know. They have the information. They have issued a communique. Management is not aware. Then I'm sitting here, and this is an ambush practice, and you are taking me by surprise. You have not been fair to me this morning. In fact, we have been friends. But Angela, just getting to the end, you decided not to. Yes. Just that you remain to be my friend. No, it's okay. You remain to be my friend. As for you, remain to be my friend. You know, you're always my friend. You're always my friend. But I'm just telling you that if people have information, I don't know. But let me talk about remarking and others. It's just unfortunate what has happened. I think we cannot apologize enough for the undue delay. As you are aware, it is not management fault. We do not control the remarking, the timetable for its release. We've done our best. I'm happy that through your own sources, impeccable sources, you know when the remarking results will be released. I'm very happy. At least you now know when it will be released. I'm very happy about it. Now, when it comes to two results, as you said, first and foremost, what is the essence of remarking? You apply for remarking to know your status, either to write again, or if sometimes you have only one paper and you pass and you go forward, or if you have failed 3 and you go for remarking and you pass 1, your status change from being a repeated student to a referral student. That is the essence of remarking, which to me, whether it comes today or next week, that purpose has been defeated. But it was also the belief of management that if we don't ask you also, for those who have only one paper, who have applied for remarking, we do not ask them to register for the exam and write. And then by the time the remarking comes, that examination, they are not successful for the remarking. Meanwhile, they did not register for the exam. Then there will be double jeopardy. You understand? That's the reason why we advise that let them register. And then whatever happens. I think from the hindsight, management took the right decision, because I don't know how many of those who are going to be successful with the remarking, but at least all of them have written the supplementary, so that if you are not successful for remarking and you are successful for the supplementary, I think it's better. It's better that way. And so, but when it comes to marks, if remark paper, by policy, remark paper is always the highest mark you can get is 50. Remark, you can't get more than 50. So if you are successful with remark and you are successful also with supplementary, no, supplementary, yes, supplementary is 50, no more. Supplementary, if you write the supplementary, your pass mark is 50. You can't get more than 50, not even 51. But your remark results will be the original. So supposing when it comes and you have moved from those who apply 14% in civil procedure, for example, the person got 14% and applied for remarking. If by divine intervention, that person from 14% jumped to 55%, the 55 will be the person's mark. So choosing between the two, of course, you have to discount with the supplementary, because after supplementary, you can't get more than 50. So if your original mark is more than 50, then you choose that one as your mark. And then, so that's how it's going to be. So if you have two, and one is 50, and one is 51, certainly you go for the 51. If it's 50-50, then that one. If it's 50-50, what you can do is that in order not to get supplementary on your transcript, you go for the remark one, which is 50. So these are all things that we have considered. But certainly, the purpose is not what we are talking about. That is not the purpose why people apply for remarking. So as for the apology, we have to continue to render that apology on behalf of the IEC, that we hope it will not happen again.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe this will be the last question, if I'm not mistaken. But students from Kumasi are complaining of their inability to procure some of the vaccines that were provided for the COVID-19 vaccines that was provided for those in Accra.
It's my own question.
So they are asking what steps management are taking, what steps management is taking to procure some of the vaccines for them, since they didn't have the opportunity to get the first shots. Yeah.
Yes. Let them be aware that the vaccination was not something which was official. In fact, it's something that I can say without boasting that it was my own connection. I have to say, my own connection. That's how I managed to get this vaccination done in the main campus. The Kumasi coordinator and others will bear me out. I've done all, in fact, I have spoken to the director, Metro Director, Kosia Jima, In fact, I've spoken to KUST. I've even spoken to Confanochi. I've done all, but the last opportunity was that I was informed that the vaccines for Ashanti region was finished. And they gave me the assurance that as soon as they get the vaccines, they will let me know. But management also discussed this. And the other alternative was that since we've paved the way in Accra to get these vaccines, once we even get those vaccines that they have been restocked in Accra, if it worst come to worst, we will find out those who have not been vaccinated in Kumasi. We will bring our buses to convey them to Accra to be vaccinated if we cannot bring them to Kumasi. So I've been working on it. It's just unfortunate. In fact, this discrimination, that was the word I used, that I don't want anybody to criticize management for discriminating against Kumasi. And it pains me that that what happened. If we knew that it was going to be so challenging, the time we were bringing the Gimpa people, maybe we should have also brought Kumasi. But we are doing our best. I can assure them that if we get the information that new vaccines have arrived, we will do our best. If we can't bring those people here, then we will try and come and take the students because they are all very important and dear to us. If we are protected in Accra and Gimpa and they are not, and we are always meeting, and some lecturers are coming from Accra to Kumasi and vice versa, it means that we have to vaccinate everybody. So please tell them we will do our best. But now our information is that the vaccines are out of stock. Once they get them, we will see how we do it.
Okay, all right. I've been given another question, and then so I'll take that one, and then we'll bring the session to a close. There is a question on the IT situation, the internet situation in the school. To the best of my knowledge, the part ones were given students emails, and that is what I think that is what was used for the elections, for the SRC elections this past Sunday. So this question is from a part 2 student, where if the management could help in accessing or getting students' emails for the part 2 students who are about to leave, actually, and so that it could help.
You use it to set up your law firms. You need the email to set up your law firms.
No, I mean, it helps if we have a student's email address for dissemination of information as well. So this was from one part 2 students. So I believe it is.
Let the IT person answer. Yes, the IT person will answer. But what I can say is that this, that when we're admitting over 1,000, we have to be innovative. So we decided to go digital. So those in part 1, we can say that's when the law school started its digitization procedure and process. So maybe the 148 people, 128 people did not get the opportunity, but now we are trying very hard to digitize. So that may explain why. So the IT person will tell you what can be done about your request.
Okay. And okay.
Can I go on? If I get the question right, you are asking for email accounts for the part 2 students.
Yes, please.
That's very possible. But what you should appreciate is that with every institution, once you finish school, within 6 months, that account is deactivated.
Deactivated.
Yes, so that's what you should understand.
Okay. All right. And the follow-up question is wireless services, Wi-Fi services for students on campus, because I think previously there was one service that the students could log on for receiving mails and stuff of the sort, but that is no longer working. So they are asking what management is doing about the Wi-Fi situation in the school.
Okay, so with the Wi-Fi, what was happening was that it was being tapped from the fiber optics that we had, the cabled one. And as you would appreciate, there's construction and renovation going on. So what we did was to suspend the account, and that's why Wi-Fi or anything of the sort is inactive.
No, thank you.
But we are working on restoring. So once it's restored, then all those other allied services would come forward.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I believe we've had a very fruitful session with the director, and in the absence of any other question, we would gladly bring this session to a close. I want to say a very big thank you to the acting director for obliging the call to answer questions from the student populace. We are very grateful that you took time out of your very busy schedule to attend to us and our numerous questions. Thank you very much. I also want to say thank you to the registrar and the accountant who I see are flanking you on both sides, that they also came in to give their input to this. Thank you so much, sir. I hope you have a very wonderful afternoon.
Well, thank you also, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And don't forget, after 3rd of May, we are resuming lectures, and therefore, you should know that also in June, we are starting exam. So whatever you do, you must do it in moderation, not forgetting your books, the reason why you are at the Ghana School of Law. And it is my hope that you see all of you, especially those who are going to graduate, and the call. We will see you all, and that at the day of the call, you forget about the 5,000 and enjoy because you will be. Yes, I know, Angela, you will forget about the 5,000. That day will be a day of joy. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank
I'll
you
see
very
you in
much,
Accra
sir.
when I return. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a very wonderful day. Bye.